Hi everybody! Today we're going to be talking about Kennen and Wissen, ways to say I know something in German. So, first thing we're going to do on here is we're going to talk about which one means what and why you would use each one, and then also conjugate them. So, we're going to start with Kennen. Kennen is the one that means to know things like I know a noun. So, I know my brother, I know my car, I know my house, I know my hometown, I know all of these things, and it's an easy way to translate it would be like I'm acquainted with something. That would be Kennen. Wissen is used whenever you're talking about facts. Facts as in like little nuggets of information is what I like to call them. Whenever you know like, I know where the red fern grows, I know why the cage bird sings, all of those things are going to be using Wissen. And Wissen is also used with things like telephone numbers and addresses and things that are just kind of like chunks of information. Whenever you're talking about answers in classes and those type of things, those are also going to be using Wissen. So anyway, let's get into the conjugation here. Kennen is a perfectly regular verb. Nothing happens that's weird in this whatsoever, so it's just drop your en and add all of those endings that you would do for a present tense conjugation. So we have ich kenne, du kennst, sie es kennt, wir kennen, ihr kennt, sie kennen. Perfectly regular, nothing wrong with that. Wissen, however, is weird. Wissen takes a stem change for the ich, du, and sie, es forms, and it basically follows the same forms that you had for the modal auxiliaries. Wissen will take an ei stem change for the ich, du, and sie, es form. It'll also take an s set, which is actually because of the ei that it has in the middle of it, rather than having that I in the middle like it does now. So, conjugation of Wissen is ich weiß, du weißt, sie es weiß, wir wissen, ihr wisst, sie wissen. As you can see, it takes an ei for the ich, du, and sie, es forms. It also takes an s set in there, and since it has an s set at the end of the word already, you don't add an extra s in the du form, it just becomes weißt, with just a t at the end of it. The other forms, the wissen, wisst, and wissen, those are all the same as it was with regular conjugation. In section 2, all we're supposed to do is put in the blank what form of Kennen or Wissen we need based on what kind of knowing we need. So in each one we have to figure out first of all what is being known, and then also which one we're supposed to use based on that knowledge, and then how to conjugate it based on the subject of the sentence. So, first one here says, du meinen Lehrer. You'll notice that meinen Lehrer is in the accusative case with meinen at the end of it. Also, teacher is the word Lehrer, and so we want to say, do you know my teacher? So, if we're going to say that, teacher is a noun. Most of the time, if you're using a noun, you're going to be using a form of kennen. So we use here, kennst du meinen Lehrer? Do you know my teacher? St at the end of it because du is the subject. Du is always the subject as long as it's in the sentence. Otherwise, it becomes dich or dir. Nummer 2. Du meine Telefonnummer. As I mentioned before, there are a few exceptions to the rule of like, I know a noun. One of those exceptions is a telephone number. So in this case, we know like this little nugget of information, which is a telephone number. So we would actually use a form of Wissen here. We have to use the form that goes with du, which in this case is weißt. Weißt du meine Telefonnummer? Do you know my telephone number? Nummer 3. Du, wie viele Katzen du hast. In this one it says, you, how many cats you have. So we're supposed to say, do you know how many cats you have? Most of the time, if it's going to be separated off by a comma like that and then have an extra phrase at the end of it, it's probably going to be using a form of Wissen. So in this case, we have weißt again. Weißt du, wie viele Katzen du hast? Do you know how many cats you have? This is a kind of question that you ask to that crazy cat lady who's got like 5 million cats, and you know, you're like, lady, do you even know how many cats you have? You're such a weirdo. Anyway, Nummer 4. Something du, wo der Muffinman wohnt. So we want to ask, do you know where the Muffin Man lives? As in, do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Yeah, anyway, so we want to say that. And again, this one's separated off by a comma and a little nugget of information of where the Muffin Man lives. And so we're going to say again Wissen, which in this case would have to be conjugated to say weißt. Weißt du, wo der Muffin Man wohnt? Nummer 5. Ihr Berlin gut. Do you know Berlin well? Berlin is a city, and you can actually know a city. You can be acquainted with a city, like I am. I actually spent about a month in Berlin as part of a exchange program for Humboldt University. It was a great time, but anyway, I can say that I'm acquainted with the city of Berlin, and so I would actually use here kennen, and I have to conjugate that to the ear form, which is kennt. Kennt ihr Berlin gut? Do you know Berlin well? Nummer 6. Ihr meine Adresse? Do you know my address? Address is going to follow the same rule as a telephone number. It's a nugget of information, and therefore we have to use here a form of Wissen. We have ihr in the sentence again, and so we have to use here the ear form. Wisst ihr meine Adresse? Do you know my address? Nummer 7. Sieh, wo mein Bruder ist. Do you know where my brother is? Where my brother is separated off by a comma and is a little nugget of information, so we use it again, a form of Wissen, which is wissen Sie. Wissen Sie, wo mein Bruder ist? Do you know where my brother is? Nummer 8. Der Bäcker und ich something den Weg. The baker and I know the way. If that's the case, we're going to have to use here a form of kennen, and we're going to say wir kennen. Die Kinder something ihre Eltern. The children know their parents. Their parents again being a direct object, and most of the time we're going to be using a form of kennen there, and in this case we're not using an exception, so we have to use die Kinder kennen ihre Eltern. The children know their parents. Nummer 10. Ich something den Muffinmann. I know the Muffin Man. Ich kenne den Muffinmann. I am acquainted with the Muffin Man. Nummer 11. Ich something die Antwort. I know the answer. The answer is going to be some kind of a nugget of information, and therefore we have to use here again a form of Wissen, which in this case is the Ich form. Ich weiß die Antwort. I know the answer. Nummer 12. Ich something wohin ich gehen will. I know where I want to go. This one again is separated off by a comma and has that little nugget of information after it, and therefore we have to use here a form of Wissen. Ich weiß wohin ich gehen will. I know where I want to go. Nummer 13. Mein Lehrer blank dich. My teacher knows you. Mein Lehrer kennt dich. Dich is the direct object in this sentence. Kennen is usually used with a direct object. Nummer 14. Wer something es. Who knows it? It kind of depends on what it is actually referring to, but most of the time it's going to be using like an answer or some kind of a phrase or something like that. And so most of the time when you say who knows it, you're going to be referring to something that needs a form of Wissen. Since wer is our subject, we need the er sie es form, which is weiß. Wer weiß es? Who knows it? Nummer 15. Wir something es nicht. We don't know it. That would be the same situation as the previous one, but this time we have the wir form, which would need wir wissen es nicht. We don't know it. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a Daumen hoch. And if you want to see more videos from me, click on some of those buttons or hit that subscribe button to see every video every week. Thanks for watching. Bye now.